Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City of Hartford's regular council meeting of Monday, May 11th, 2020. I am Council President Mary Rosado, and I'm calling this meeting to order. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bermudez.
Present.
Councilman Clark. Councilman Gale.
Here.
Councilman LeBron.
Here.
Councilman Mickham. Councilman Mickham. Councilwoman Rosado.
Present.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Here.
Councilman Sanchez.
Present.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Here.
Councilman Mickham. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Madam President, I believe that we have to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. And now it's Town Clerk, lead us onto the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it
which
stands,
stands
one nation,
under
under God,
God,
indivisible,
visible, with
and
liberty and justice for all.
for all.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I would like to make a motion that we suspend our rules to add the following item, which is a resolution that the Court of Common Council in the City of Hartford hereby approves the Hartford Redevelopment Agency to quit claim to the City of Hartford in any of all developments rights on the parcels described in the Hartford Land Records in volume 3710 at page 16, known as Main, John, and Hudson Streets.
I second the motion.
A motion has been made and properly second. Are there any discussions? Any discussions? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bermudez. Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Yes.
Councilman Gale.
Yes.
Councilman LeBron.
Yes.
Councilman Mickham.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez.
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I would like to make the motion that we place the following items on the consent calendar. Items number 1, number 8, number 9, number 10, number 11, and number 15.
I second the motion.
Motion has been made and properly second. Are there any discussions?
Madam,
Councilman Gale.
yes, thank you, Council President. On my agenda, Park in Maine that we just added was number 14. And I believe that Majority Leader just put item number 15 on the consent calendar. I don't think we have an item 15. I'm just raising a point of clarification here.
I think number 14, through you, Madam President, number 14 is the communication from the mayor's office for the budget. With the revised agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. I'm looking at an old agenda. I see now 14 was the budget that was added. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other discussions? Any other discussions? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bermudez. Councilwoman Bermudez.
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Gale.
Yes.
Councilman LeBron.
Yes.
Councilman Mickham.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez.
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I'd like to make the motion that we receive item number 2 on our agenda.
I second the motion.
Duly noted. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Through you, point of order, Madam President, I believe that we have to take a vote to accept the
I
receipt.
apologize. Town Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez? Councilwoman Bermudez?
Yes.
Councilman Clark?
Yes.
Councilman Gale? Councilman LeBron?
Yes.
Councilman Mickham?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosetti?
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez?
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I would like to make the motion that we refer the following items to the following committees. Items number 4, 5, and 6, which is an ordinance making general fund appropriations to reflect project costs relative to public improvements in the Wish Elementary School as item number 4, and the E.B. Kennelly School, which is item number 5, and the Betances Early Reading Lab School, which is item number 6. To the Operations Management and Budget and Government Accountability, item number 15, which is the Mayor Bronin's budget message and recommended general fund budget and capital improvement program, which is the ordinance of appropriations for general fund ordinance concerning appropriations in the capital improvement fund ordinance tax levy on list of October 1st, 2019, to the Operations Management, Budget, and Government Accountability Committee. And item number 12, which is a proposed ordinance by Mayor Bronin, which is the revision updating planning and zoning codes for clarification purposes, which also has a hearing date on this coming Monday, May 18th, 2020 at 7 p.m.
Second the motion. I second the motion.
Thank you. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Madam President, we have to vote on the said items.
Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Yes, Councilwoman Bermudez? Councilwoman Bermudez?
Yes.
Councilman Clark?
Yes.
Councilman Gale?
Yes.
Councilman LeBron?
Yes.
Councilman Mickham?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosetti?
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez?
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I would like to make the motion that we postpone item number 7 until the next council meeting, which is scheduled for May 26, 2020.
I second the motion.
I was just informed by the public if we could read which item, the name of the item that's been postponed.
1 second, please. Item number 7, which is the ordinance amending Chapter 2, appointments of department head requirements, Section 850, residency requirements of the municipal code.
So I second the motion. It was.
Thank you. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I would like to make the motion that we place item number 3 for action, which is a resolution supporting the integrated plan as set forth in the prior resolution of the city adopted January 14th, 2018, and also supports the MDC's 13 against deep without any other action.
I second the motion.
A motion.
Can I need to jump in. We had a motion up and seconded that we didn't vote on to postpone matter.
All right,
Sorry to interrupt.
thank you.
Madam President, through you, I don't think if the Corporation Council through you will chime in, postpone items, need to have a roll call vote.
Through you, Madam President, for the last several meetings, we have voted to postpone items. So I would counsel that a roll call should be had.
So for clarification purposes, a motion has been made and properly second for the postponed items. Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez,
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Gale, Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilman LeBron,
Yes.
Councilman Mictum,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti,
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez,
Just for clarification, we're postponing item number 3 or 7?
7.
7, yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon. Councilwoman Surgeon,
Yes.
motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I'd like to make the motion again that we place the following item on the action, which is a resolution already that came out of the Public Works, Parks, Recreation, Environment Committee, which also has a substitute resolution supporting the MDC's integrated plan as set forth in the prior resolution of the city of Hartford adopted January 14th, 2019, and also supports the NBC's $18 million claim against Deep without any other action.
Second the motion.
Thank you. Motion has been made and properly second. Are there any discussions? Any discussions? Councilman Sanchez?
Yes, I'd like to recuse myself on this item.
On which item? Councilman?
Item number 13, I believe that's been mentioned for the MDC.
Duly noted. Councilman King?
It's item number 3. He's recusing himself for item number 3.
Councilman Gale?
I thank you, Madam President. As one of the sponsors of this resolution, let me just give a little bit of a background and an outline. We have previously, as a council body, taken up the MDC's integrated plan, and we received quite a bit of information from the MDC. A number of council members at the time went to the MDC, and we received some very in-depth knowledge of what the MDC was facing, and it boils down to being under pressure from the federal government and the state DEP to clean up, separate the sewer system and remove some of the storm water from the sanitary sewage water. And if kept to the timeline required by the federal EPA, it would have caused the MDC to have problems meeting our basic needs here in the city. And so they came up with the concept of an integrated plan, which allows them to spread the costs of compliance with the sewer separation project. And I'm probably not using the word there, but it allows them to spread the costs out over a much longer period to the benefit of the residents of the city of Hartford. We felt council body, and as this resolution, we passed that support of that integrated plan back in January of 2019. The MDC, since the adoption of the integrated plan by Hartford, has gone and sought support from other communities, and they've received support. I don't know specifically every single member community, but I'm fairly certain they've received support from a majority of their member communities. that have taken up the item, and the balance of them, I believe, are in the process of taking it up. The MDC, at the same time, is seeking support, and what this resolution really is addressed to, this resolution really addresses the problem that we are currently having with our landfill. The MDC, the state DEEP, now has control of our landfill, and they are discharging water from the landfill that must be treated by the MDC, and they are not paying for it. The MDC again made a fairly elaborate presentation to us about this, and our understanding from the information we've received is that the state of Connecticut owes some $13 million or more to the MDC at this point. That is, the state DEEP owes this money, $13 million, to the MDC. And at the same time, lacking this money, the MDC took a very dramatic step this year of cutting the funding from riverfront recapture. Funding that was designed to be cut slowly over a period of years was this year precipitously cut, leaving riverfront scrambling for funding. As we sit here tonight, I don't know what's happened with riverfront, but the bottom line is this resolution, when it came to us from the MDC seeking support for their claim against DEEP, the resolution that we put forward that went through committee that's come back with a favorable recommendation to you tonight is a resolution supporting the MDC, but at the same time indicating that we certainly hope and expect that if they're successful in getting their money from DEEP, that they will in fact seek to reinstate the funding that was taken from river capture. That's my understanding of the resolution that I'm a sponsor of.
Thank you, Councilman Guerra. Are there any other discussions?
Yes, through you, Council President. So thank you for that timeline, Councilman Gale. So Council did approve back in January of 2019 the MDC's long-term control plan, but I also want to note that not every council member voted yes on that. In fact, there were 3 of us who voted no. And the reason being, as environmentalists, is that in the long-term control plan, there were no requirements for green infrastructure. There were no set requirements for green infrastructure. There was also no environmental justice component added onto that into the long-term control plan. Are we happy with what happened in terms of the riverfront recapture, the funds being slashed? No, we're not. We're not happy with what happened. Riverfront recapture brings a wealth of amazing opportunities for our city and for our residents, and also for other residents who live beyond the city of Hartford. But to say in this resolution that the integrated plan will only be successful if the state provides grant funding is really tunnel vision, because in the integrated plan, again, there was no green infrastructure and there was no environmental justice components. And so if we're really looking at a long-term plan and long-term solutions, and here the MDC is requesting for them to have access to funding, whether it be through grants and or other mechanisms through the state of Connecticut, we have to include the environmental justice and environmental awareness in terms of sustainability that is required for a long-term plan.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bermudez. Any other discussions?
Madam
Mr.
President?
Call the roll.
One comment, please.
Councilwoman Rossetti?
I just wanted to thank my colleague, Councilman Gale, for so succinctly relaying what happened some time ago, and so much has happened since then. And to his point, and we were very clear with the MDC about recouping the losses
You're
to
doing all right. Let
riverfront
me give you a call
recapture.
back. I'm in my second WebEx meeting.
Jimmy, we
Okay,
can hear
thanks.
you.
Bye.
So thank you, Councilman Gale, for that, because I want everyone to be clear that we were clear with MDC about riverfront. So thank you, John.
Thank you, Councilwoman Rossetti. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bermudez,
No.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilman LeBron,
Yes.
Councilman Mictum,
No.
Councilwoman Rossetti, sorry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado,
Yes.
Ms. Sanchez,
Recusing myself.
Councilwoman Surgeon, Councilwoman Surgeon,
Yes.
motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And thank you, everyone, for watching this evening. With
Hold
no
on.
further-
Madam President, we have one more item.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Through you, Madam President, I would like to make the motion that we place the following item up for action, which is Resolution 13, resolution requesting that the Court of Common Council, together with Mayor Bronin and the Department of Health and Human Services, shall establish a safer supervision committee paying close attention to the residents rejoining our neighborhoods from the various Department of Correction facilities in response to the injustice and public health and inequalities, attributed to COVID-19.
I second the motion.
Motion has been made and properly second. Are there any discussions? Councilman Clark.
Madam President, thank you. Through you, I thank my colleagues. I know Councilman Sanchez had said that he also wanted to place his name on this resolution, but I just want to take my opportunity to address you all regarding this. This is a dire situation that we have seen been displayed nationally as well as within our state on how many people that are in our Department of Correction facilities in the state have been exposed to the deadly virus, which we know as COVID-19. And so there have been many people who have reached out to me that have loved ones in the facilities within the state, as well as the Pellerville facility in Danbury. And so this resolution is really just urging the governor in partnership with the mayor and our Health and Human Services Department to admonish the governor to issue an executive order to put some more safeguards in place for every person who is under watch at the Department of Correction, in the Department of Correction facilities. Just to add some more context to it, the national organization #Cut50 has been working tirelessly with many state governments across the country to make sure certain safeguards are in place. They have also offered to donate PPEs to the State Department of Corrections. To note, the State Department of Correction for Connecticut did not accept the PPEs that was offered, but we have the New York State Department, the Rhode Island State Department, as well as the Massachusetts State Department of Corrections that accepted these facilities, these PPEs. And we just need to be very clear that, when we address these inequalities that are taking place, it comes off as that the leadership in the Department of Corrections aren't concerned about those that are under their watch. And we just need to stand up and be an advocate for those that don't have a voice to make sure that they are receiving the protections and the safeguards needed. Thank you.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
I need to make a comment. I shared this with my colleague earlier as someone who runs a halfway house in the city of Hartford and is with all the providers across the state of Connecticut. My concern is that we do not replace one issue with another issue, and plenty of the halfway house providers will tell you that that is what's happening. So I think we need to be mindful of that. I'm fully supportive of this, but we need to be mindful that just because one thing is happening, they're now forcing it on another group of people, and it's becoming very dangerous. So I just want people to know that.
Councilman Clark.
Through you, Madam President. Thank you, Councilwoman Rossetti. I'm willing to work with you to make sure that those that are in the halfway houses as well deserve the same protection and focus as those that are under the Department of Correction watch in the other facilities.
Thank you, Councilman Clark. Are there any other discussions? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
I had through you, Council President. So I just wanted to applaud Councilman Clark in terms of bringing up this resolution. I think it's a very important one and timely. If we look at the state of Connecticut, there's 10,700 inmates, people who are currently incarcerated, and 80% of those are people, Black and Brown communities who are incarcerated. We recognize that there's a disproportionate number of folks from our community that are incarcerated and suffer the greatest impacts. Beyond that, I also wanted to highlight that the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, they placed a lawsuit against the state of Connecticut because of some of the stuff that has been mentioned here in the resolution, the lack of testing, the lack of access to things like PPEs. But as of last week, the update was that the ACLU was able to defeat the motion to dismiss. And so they were able to appeal it at the federal level, and they won with that appeal, so that folks who are incarcerated can receive testing for the coronavirus, which is an important first step. But there still needs to be other measures included in that, is making sure that those who are at risk and are incarcerated because of pre-existing conditions, the more elderly population, et cetera, are able to be released if their release day is already coming up. And so there's a lot of parallel efforts that are happening, and so I think that this is an important one, especially in our city.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bermudez. Are there any other discussions? Any other discussions? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bermudez,
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilman LeBron,
Yes.
Councilman Mickham,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti,
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I want to thank the public for joining us tonight and for being very patient as we navigate through these virtual meetings. And with no further business to conduct, this council meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone, and good night.